Uh, this is JC. I'm going to tell a story now. Today is the 41st wedding anniversary of my sweet little lady, Donna and me. About 3:30 this afternoon. It was 41 years ago we were married. And I happen to remember that day when we got married, and there's a little bit of a story to it. It's sort of like I consider it to be sort of a I don't know, a blessing, or there was an angel talking to us, or some sort of little miracle, or an omen, or I don't know what you'd call it. But anyhow, I'll tell it. Right now, I'm going to start. When I first met Donna, I met her down on the river, on Stanislaus River. I was living in Modesto on Robbie Street, and I was going to Modesto Junior College. I was studying to be an English teacher. And actually, I was supposed to sign up for it, but I signed up for English literature by mistake, but I had to make the most of it, so it turned out to be pretty good. The thing about it is I had three kids that I was raising on what little bit of money I got from the on my GI Bill to go to junior college, and I tell you, it was really tough. There were some pretty lean times. Anyhow, on our days off for entertainment, a lot of times we would go down to a place called Knight's Ferry on the Stanislaus River out the other side of Oakdale, east of Oakdale. But before we got to there was a little place off Orange Blossom Road that goes down by the river, and there's a little beach down there, and the water is nice, and it flows very nicely, not very fast, but it's very easy to swim, and just gradually gets deeper and deeper going over to the other side. Then on the other side, there's a very high bank on the other side. It's probably 8 or 10 feet high, maybe a little higher, or maybe not quite that high, but it seemed pretty high at the time. And I used to go across on the other side, and I had to get up on this bank, and I'd do my swan dive off into the river, while the kids are out there swimming. So anyhow, on this particular day, my niece, Phyllis, went with us. And so it was Phyllis, my three kids, and I all went down to the river and had our picnic basket and our blanket, and we put it down, and we were having a gay old time there. And I was out there swimming, and Phyllis was over on the beach doing whatever Phyllis did when she was on the beach. So anyhow, I climbed up on the bank, and I got up there, and I was just getting ready to do a swan dive, and I heard this voice say, Uncle James, I want to talk to you when you get over here. Hurry. I said, okay, Phyllis, all right. So I went ahead and did my swan dive. It was absolutely magnificent. Well, at least it was adequate. I didn't belly flop, but I was a pretty good diver. But anyhow, I went stroking over there, and there was a lady sitting there on a blanket. I didn't really pay that much attention to her at first. I've always been kind of shy when it comes to women. So anyhow, I went over to Phyllis, and Phyllis was standing there, or sitting down on her knees on this lady's blanket. And she said, Uncle James, I want you to meet Donna. She ain't married either. I thought, we're crying out loud, Phyllis, don't you know you're embarrassing this poor lady? And Donna, she blushed a little bit, and she looked up and grinned at me and kind of shook her head. And she said hello, and I said hello. And Phyllis said, all right, you two get acquainted now. And she got up and left. And so I stood up there kicking a hole in the ground with my toe. I was kind of nervous and shy, and Donna finally said, you might as well sit down and get it over with. We can talk. And so I sat down, and I tell you, that was the beginning of something wonderful. Anyhow, I'm going to go on from there now. I'm going to jump a whole lot ahead quite a ways. We became acquainted, and we became fond of each other and spending a lot of time together. And I'd go to her house sometimes for dinner or lunch, and she'd come to my house sometimes for dinner or for lunch. And so I was still going to the junior college, though. About the time my semester was up at the junior college, I got a call from some friends of mine, Ernie and Glenda Graham. They were the Double Eagles. They had a band called the Double Eagles, and I'd played music with them before. And I'd known them for many, many years, since 1967, and this was 1970, or 1971. Anyhow, Ernie said, James, we got a gig going down here at Palm Springs. They were at Palm Springs at the time, and also in Ehrenberg, Arizona. And Ernie said, we need you to come down and help us, and we might be able to play some music for a movie. This guy had heard him, and he liked him, and they told him about me, and he says, maybe we can use you in this movie. It'll show you and everything. You can play your music on the movie. So I didn't know. I told him, I can't do it, Ernie. I'm going to school and I got the kids here and everything. And he said, well, you think about it, then get back to me in a day or so. And I told him, okay. And Donna, she looked like she's a little bit excited about it too. And I said, yeah, but what am I going to do with the kids? And good old Donna, she said, look, if you want to do this, you go ahead and do it. I'll take care of the kids, until you can figure out how to get them down there and how what to do and whether or not you're going to stay on this job or what. And so I said, okay. And I packed my things in my car and headed on down to uh, Palm Springs. And I talked to Ernie and Glenda a little bit, and we spent a couple of days there talking around. And so finally we went on over to Ehrenberg, on the other side of Blythe. On the California side is Blythe, the other side's Ehrenberg. Just on the other side, there's a great big barn there with a motel right next to it and behind it and to the side of it. And this guy named Kirk owned all of it. Well, the big barn was actually a nightclub. It was called the A1 Club. And it had a real nice big dance floor, had a nice big bandstand, and the acoustics were wonderful in it. And so Ernie and Glenda and I started playing music there. Um, but I tell you what, I was sure getting missing my little honey by then, and I imagine she was getting sort of wishing that things could be a little bit different anyhow. And she sent me a card, and I called her and talked to her a little bit on the phone. So I sent her a card back, and I said, "Listen, why don't you just come on down here and we'll make this legal. We'll get married if you want to." And oh yeah, well that was fine. She took the kids over to somebody to watch most of them, but my mother and Donna and my daughter Margaret came on down to Blythe or to Ehrenberg, and later on that afternoon we drove down to Winter Haven, just across the river, across from Yuma, Arizona. We could get married there without any waiting of any kind, and so we went down there and. Um, my mother and my daughter Margaret were going to be the witnesses, and I like to tell the story about it. We found a Baptist minister to marry us, and when we were standing there, and he looked at me and he looked at her and he says, "You take this man for better or for worse." And she looked me over a little bit, and so did he. And she said, "Well, I guess I have to take him for better because I don't think they come any worse." So we had a chuckle over that. And she didn't really say that, but she could have very easily. And after the ceremony was over with, I kissed my wife. First time I'd ever kissed my wife, this wife anyhow. And I went over to the preacher and asked him what I owed him. And he said, "Well, we don't have any set amount, just whatever you think it's worth." I said, "Well, you got change for $1?" And he chuckled a little bit, and so did I. But anyhow, I wound up investing the best 20 bucks I'd ever invested in my life. Now we're going to get back up. We went back up to Ehrenberg, and my mother and Margaret, they got in their car and they went home. And we're going to spend our wedding night at the motel, at a room in the motel, and back behind the club there. And so we went into the room. It was nice and cool in there. It was very hot weather there, but the room was nice and cool, and it was just getting dark. And so we got ready for bed, and I woo-wooed my brand new wife here with her little sheer negligee, and I tell you what, she was something else to look at, and I was getting very excited. So we got into the bed, and we no more got settled down in the bed, and I heard meow, 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 meow. I said, "What the hell is that?" And I said, "Sounds like that's a cat." And I said, "Well, what's it? Where is it?" And she said she could hear it scratching on the door. This cat was scratching on the door wanting in. And Donna said, "Honey, I think that cat's James. I think that cat's scratching on the door." And I said, "Oh, shoot, let me get up and go take a look." And I went up and I opened the door, and boy, that cat was in like a flash. Just ran right in as soon as I opened the door. And it stopped and it looked around. And you know how a cat will look around and his tail's up like this, and his tail would twitch like this, and it looked around and his tail would twitch, and then it saw Donna. And it jumped right up on the bed. And Donna was taken aback a little bit. She said, "What the hell's going on here?" And this cat went right over to her and started going like this. Meow, meow, meow. You know how a cat will do that. Meow, meow, meow. And Donna said, "Honey, look at this cat. This cat's going to have babies." And I looked at it, and I said, cat was puffed up there, looked like a great big balloon. And just meow, meow. And it kept pawing at her like this. And Donna said, "Oh, gosh." I said, "Well, what are we going to do now?" And she said, "Don't worry, I'll fix a bed for it." So she got up and got some a blanket and some towels and put it in the bottom of the closet and left the closet door open. And she put the cat down there and petted it a little bit. It kept pressing on her hands like this, you know, pushing on her hands. And so she petted it, and pretty soon it settled down a little bit. She got back up and got back in the bed. And in about 2 minutes, plop, that cat came back, and it went straight to Donna. And it came over and it started this again. Meow, 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 meow. With his little paws. And she said, honey, I think this cat wants me to be with her while she has her babies. And hey, you know what? Somebody knows something I don't. So I didn't argue about it. I said, well, Donna, you do whatever you want to. If you want to be with her, go be with her. So she got out of bed and went over to the closet, put the cat back down in the closet. The cat laid down, and it just kept its paws on her hands all the time, like this. And the cat had her little kittens. I don't know how many, 4 or 5 of them. And Donna petted that cat, and the cat licked its little babies, and then pretty soon the little babies started nursing around and nuzzling, and they finally found a tit to hang on to and nurse off of. And then the cat kept going like this, and pretty soon Donna took her hand away, and the cat relaxed, and Donna came back to bed, and we went to sleep. Got up the next morning, that cat was still there. And I got up and moved around a little bit. Donna opened the door, and the cat ran outside, and I thought, oh my goodness, what's going on here? But she went out to find some place to go to the toilet, I guess, and then came back. And I said, honey, what are we going to do with this cat? And she said, don't worry, you just go take care of your business. I'll take care of the cat. So she got some food and some water and everything, and took it in there for the cat. Then we went over and told Kirk, the guy who owned the motel, about the cat. He says, oh yeah, I know that cat. That's a good cat. Don't worry, we'll take care of it from here. So they came over then, and they got the cat and the kittens and took them. But I thought, my God, you know what? What a miracle this was. My wife and I, our first night, we had 5 babies there. And this cat knew Donna well enough. She just knew Donna. She said, that cat thought, my God, that woman right there, I know she'll help me. She's a wonderful person, and she was. And it took me 38 years to realize what that cat knew the first night we were married, that I was married to the most wonderful woman in the world. Anyhow, that was our little miracle, and I think that cat was an angel. That was God sent that cat down to say, listen, you guys, don't worry about things. Everything's going to be okay. And it was, always, with my little honey. Anyhow, if you love somebody now, go tell them, say, I love you very much. I'm so happy that you're with me and I'm with you. And don't put it off, because someday you won't have the chance to do it. Anyhow, this is JC. It used to be James Alexander, now it's JC. And this is my story. And I'll see you down the road if the good Lord's willing and the creek don't rise.